It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Support for this podcast comes from Invent Together. I bet you didn't know that inventing activity by Black inventors peaked in 1899, and it has never recovered. Black and Hispanic college graduates patented half the rate of white college graduates. That's just one of the reasons why you need to know about Invent Together. When our patent system gets more diverse, our nation will get stronger and more successful. Find out how you can help diverse inventors and unleash economic opportunity at inventtogether.org.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Horned Frogs. It is Thursday, May 20th. Appreciate you joining me today. And thank you for tuning in, hear about some TCU athletics. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com today. TCU baseball, big series starting tonight. They play Kansas State in Manhattan on the road. 3 games, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Tonight at 6 is the season opener. And Kansas State, towards the bottom of the conference, they're not one of the better teams in the Big 12. But obviously there's a lot of concern the way TCU is playing right now. You know, they dropped 2 out of 3 to Texas. That was disappointing, but it wasn't shocking. It was, okay, the Sunday starter situation with Johnny Ray is still a mess. Got to get that fixed. But overall, this team is still rolling along pretty well, and then just blew a tire against Louisiana Monroe at home. So TCU's got a 1-game lead on UT in the Big 12. They can still sweep and win the conference outright. If you win 2 out of 3, you might need some help. I struggle to see. I mean, it's baseball. Anything can happen. I struggle to see West Virginia scratching out. Maybe they scratch out a win, but I think that's probably the ceiling for the Mountaineers. That team just really, really struggles to hit, and with the pitching depth that Texas has, unless somebody has a bad day, it's just tough for me to see them pulling out more than 1 game. But I would not be surprised at all if Texas went ahead and got a sweep. So not much margin for error for TCU, but still a good opportunity. And I was planning on doing more of a deeper dive into K-State baseball this afternoon or evening whenever you're listening. They have some good players, right? Like, they got some good numbers. Jordan Wicks is their ace. He's got a 3.42 ERA. He's been kind of their workhorse. He's pitched 79 innings this year, and he's struck out 102 batters. So that's a guy that can throw. And he made a statement early in the season. He pitched 7 shutout innings against Oregon State, and he's been pretty consistent all year long. Their other 2 starters are kind of hit or miss. Their bullpen arms are okay. And then hitting-wise, they only have 2 guys in the lineup that are hitting over 300. Zach Kokoska at 369 and Dylan Phillips at 350. But this team can mash a little bit. Zach has 14 home runs. Dylan Phillips has 13 home runs. And they got 4 guys that have double-digit homers this season. So they can drive the ball out of the ballpark, which, Russell Smith, he's struggled giving up the long ball. Obviously Austin Krob got rocked pretty hard on Saturday against Louisiana Monroe in that first game of a doubleheader. So if the pitching doesn't show up, then you could definitely find yourself in a situation where you're giving up a number of runs, which would not be ideal. But ultimately, I think the tone's going to be set tonight. And what I really want to see more than anything, I want to see this team get back to just grinding out at bats and scoring runs, obviously. And I hope that happens. Gene Wood, it appears he's going to be good to go for this weekend. Have not gotten anything official on Hunter Wolf. I would guess that he's probably out of the lineup for another weekend, but I don't know that for sure. Getting Gene back's going to be nice. That'll be a big plus. And Elijah Nunez, I don't know what his status is. I think where you're really going to miss him is defensively in center field, but he is somebody that gets on base at a pretty good clip, and when he does get on base, he can make teams pay with his speed. But the biggest thing to me in this series, and maybe this is a little naive or a little short-sighted, I feel like if Russell Smith goes out there tonight and just throws a gem and gets back to the guy that he was for the first couple months of the season, then a lot of other things will kind of take care of themselves. And I say that because Russell is an emotional guy on the mound. I think he's their emotional leader. He came in at Globe Life Field in Game 2 of that tournament against SEC teams, and he pitched fantastic against Mississippi State. And that was the day after Johnny Ray really struggled against Ole Miss. They couldn't beat Arkansas, but I thought they played pretty admirably in that game on Sunday. And he just sort of continued that throughout the year. And when he was on and when he was giving you 6 or 7 innings of good baseball, I just felt like this was a completely different team. So if he can come in and set the tone on Thursday night tonight against K-State and can go 6 or 7 innings and save the bullpen a little bit, and maybe you can win that game comfortably, I just feel like this is going to be a team that brings that confidence into the rest of the weekend. And I feel like that's one huge ingredient that's been missing as of late. This is a group that's had some impressive comeback wins, that's played with a lot of energy all year long, and it was pretty lackluster against Louisiana Monroe. The energy level was. The motivation didn't look like it was there. So, that can be corrected. That's just an attitude thing. Now, can you go out there and execute? I don't know. I hope so, but I can't say that for sure. Like, I can't guarantee that. But I definitely know that they can go out there with a sense of urgency and approach it like, hey, this is a Big 12 title weekend. This is what we've been working for. And I would hope, they've been honoring the seniors this week, and this is a really good group of seniors. Guys that have been here a long time. Halen Green, Zach Humphreys, Connor Shepard. I'm not going to name them all, but you know the list. And they've won a good number of baseball games. But a lot of these dudes, this Omaha drought has been prolonged enough that a lot of this roster hasn't tasted that, hasn't gotten there. And you're not going to be able to get there this weekend, but I think going out there and getting it done and winning a Big 12 title would be a great step in the right direction, and it would be a great way for these seniors to kind of go out in the regular season. Coming up, we'll talk some TCU football and some other sports as well, but right now I want to tell you about Rock Auto. I mentioned them at the top of the show. They're one of our great sponsors. Rock Auto, they're the place to go for auto parts. And, there's more makes and models now than ever before. So it can be hard to figure out, is this what I need? Is this what my vehicle needs? And you don't want to make that mistake. Like it's hard to find exactly what you need. And that's a frustrating experience if you get the wrong thing. Rock Auto allows you to compare and contrast. And it makes it simple to understand. They have good prices. You're not going to get ripped off. You know exactly what you're getting. They have a drop-down menu on their website, and it allows you to say, hey, how'd you hear about us? And if you click that you heard about them from the Locked On Podcast Network, that's a big help to us. So visit Rock Auto today. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com.
What's up, everybody? David Harrison here of the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast. I actually just retired from the Army, and while that was a very exciting moment in my life, it also meant uprooting my family one last time. And not only that, but we moved in the midst of COVID, so finding the place that we really wanted to live wasn't as easy as it usually would have been. So we actually have moved a second time, and of course, every time we've had to wonder, is all of our stuff going to fit with our new house? Did you know that people who live in cities move 6 to 8 times before they even hit their early 30s? That's why you've got to check out Feather. Feather is a furniture rental company designed for people who want to feel at home no matter how often they move. Furnishing one bedroom can cost upwards of $6,000, but with Feather, you can furnish a bedroom with high-quality, beautifully designed furniture for the cost of your monthly utility bill. Their delivery team brings furniture directly to your home in as little as 7 days. They handle all the heavy lifting so you can go from an empty apartment to a fully furnished home without lifting a finger or assembling anything. And it's not just furniture. They have rugs, lamps, wall art, and more. What if you move to a new place with a different layout? No problem. You can easily get furniture that works for any space. Plus, by renting from Feather, you're choosing a sustainable alternative to fast furniture that won't end up in landfills. I remember vividly having to take time off of work or away from family events or social events that I wanted to attend just to wait for several furniture deliveries coming at different times throughout the week, but you don't have to go through that anymore. Try a new way to furnish your home right now. Feather has an exclusive offer just for Locked On listeners. If you go to livefeather.com right now and use the promo code Locked On, you'll receive $300 off your first month. Again, that's livefeather.com and use our promo code Locked On for $300 off your first month.
Back here on Locked On Horned Frogs, segment 2, we'll just kind of bounce around some assorted news and notes. First of all, this news became official today. Shadrack Banks, and maybe it became official earlier, but I just saw a report from 247 Sports that Banks has officially announced he's going to make that move to linebacker to, playing defense. He was a wide receiver in high school. He went through spring ball at Texas A&M, and he practiced as a wide receiver. But there was some interest in him playing linebacker coming out of high school from other schools because he's so huge. I mean, he's over 6 feet tall. He's 230 pounds. He's a big kid and a heck of an athlete. And this was sort of the very public secret that he would make that transition, but now it's official. So, I mean, Gary's done this a lot. He's taken guys who were really good athletes. In a lot of cases, he's done it at smaller guys from smaller high schools. They might have been quarterbacks or running backs in high school, and he's turned them into great defensive players by using their speed, especially, to get them to a high level on defense. So I like this move. It is interesting because, as Cole Thompson from Locked On Aggies pointed out on the podcast the other day, one of the reasons allegedly or reportedly that Shadrack left A&M is because he wanted to play immediately. And, I mean, we'll see. He might be a really quick learner, but it's hard for me to believe that he's just going to step on campus, not have any spring practice, come in the fall, learn a completely different position, and be a starter or a big-time contributor for this team this year. Now, that doesn't mean he won't have plenty of time to figure it out over the coming seasons, but Cole makes a good point. I mean, it is hard to kind of fathom, oh, yeah, you're just going to learn a completely new position and step on the field and be that guy. But it's sort of like, and I know this example will probably make people shudder because it didn't work out last season, but you're kind of banking on what you were banking on with Marcel Brooks, is that he's just such a gifted athlete that he can step in and figure it out. And now they're moving Marcel, the wide receiver. So they got one dude who was playing defense moving over to wide receiver, and then another guy who was playing offense moving over to linebacker. But, I mean, Gary's linebackers, they're typically undersized guys who can run sideline to sideline. And Banks is a big wide receiver. He's a slightly kind of undersized linebacker, but he has the athletic ability to get sideline to sideline and to chase guys down and make plays. So I love the idea of this. And we'll see what it ends up looking like when he gets out there and gets on the field. But I really like that they're being creative, that they found a way to get him. And again, this is a talented guy, and TCU football has kind of made a habit of this as of late, and I think it's a good idea. They've taken on some players who, for whatever reason, didn't work out at the last school, and maybe they're what you would call tweeners, or just guys that don't have a natural position, and they find a way to get them on the field. They try to find a way to use some position flex to maybe move them around and give them an opportunity to play somewhere else. So if Banks is happy, being a linebacker, trying that out, if he's going to buy in, then I believe in this defensive staff and their ability to find a way to make it work. So he's going to make that move from wide receiver to linebacker, which is pretty crazy. You don't hear about it often, but I do think with his build, it's something that he can do and hopefully excel at in the next few years. Today, also, along with baseball having a big series, TCU men's tennis, they take on Baylor, Big 12 foe. They faced the Bears 2 other times this season. They've lost in both those matches, but this is with a Final Four trip on the line. And, hey, maybe third time's the charm. David Roditi and his squad, they beat Ohio State in the Sweet 16, and Roditi had a great money quote after that match, where he said, "Not too bad for the little sisters of the poor. They got it done today. They played well." So Baylor is the number 2 overall seed. They're the number 2 team in the country, but TCU is going to go give it a go. And good luck to TCU tennis. It's been a banner year for TCU athletics. TCU soccer, they make the Elite Eight. I know TCU football didn't quite have the season we expected or we necessarily wanted, but they did make a bowl game. Unfortunately, they couldn't play in it because of COVID protocols, but they ended up with a winning season. TCU baseball's possibly on their way to a long postseason run, and TCU men's tennis, they make it to the Elite Eight. TCU rifle, they finished second at the national championships, and they do win a national championship, and in the small bore portion of those tournaments. So that continues on. I'll have another update on a spring sport in a minute, but before I do that, I do want to tell you about betonline.ag. Betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts, Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. He does a fantastic job, and he tells you exactly how to make some money, how to make some cash, how to wager on Major League Baseball, on the NBA. Everything is on the table on betonline.ag. Even NFL, schedule's been released. You might think this is odd, but you can already start betting, folks, on some of these NFL games, some of these big-time NFL games. We know what the schedule's going to be, so go ahead and try to make some money today. Again, that's betonline.ag. They're your online sportsbook experts. Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports, he's been doing this for a long time. He knows how to make you some money. Let him do that for you. betonline.ag. Sign up today.
This episode is brought to you by HP Plus. In a world full of smart devices, shouldn't your printer be smart too? It is with HP Plus. These printers know when they're running low, so you always get the ink you need delivered right when you need it. Plus, you save up to 50% on ink, so you can print whatever you want, as much as you want, anytime you want. Huh, that is pretty smart. Get 6 free months of instant ink when you choose HP Plus. Conditions apply. Visit hp.com/smart for details.
Okay, let's close up shop here on Locked on Horned Frogs. I was talking about TCU having a really good year in athletics and especially in the spring sports. And TCU men's golf, they are headed to the NCAA National Championship Tournament after finishing 5th in the Tallahassee Regional. So congratulations for them. To them, they're going to get a chance to go and compete for a national title after advancing out of that regional. Really cool moment for TCU men's golf, and again the spring sports, they just continue to clean up as the year goes on. Tonight, TCU baseball, they're facing off with Kansas State over the next 3 days. So on Friday's pod, I'll have a recap of Game 1. I'll also have some TCU football talk, some questions I have for that team going into the fall. We'll cover it all. This is Locked On Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.